The idea to adapt it was R.V. Kareem, who I ended up writing with. The thing that I liked about it was this idea that you could be so invisible and meek and inconsequential that if your double appeared, as it does in the book, that no one would notice. That just seemed an unusual way to take that idea. Normally, everyone notices, it's really strange, it's remarked upon. And it reminded me a bit in, say, Phantom of Liberty, the Buñuel film. I think often things are called surreal if they are meant to deviate from what is considered a kind of realist. The ultimate aim for you to be that exact person in that person's skin, also eating that cupcake in that realistic way. As in, what's the logical end of realism as a complete assimilation with the screen. You kind of know you're watching a construct, so, I can't possibly defend the film. But, the sense I got in the book was you just go with this impossible thing. Often in films, under the guise of a kind of realism, you just have a lot of umming and erring, which it just doesn't necessarily feel necessary. Otherwise, it would feel like this, which is, who wants this? And also, there is a sense that in this film, no one listens to him. Everyone's just talking, and they're in their very fast own monologues. The human story between, Simon and Hannah, and that it's not really a kind of critique of bureaucracy, or it's not really, the book has a lot of stuff about Russian clerical life, which, we didn't feel desperate to bring up to date. And so that wasn't key. Brutalism is not the main architecture in Europe, so it's a slightly strange thing, and the cast is international, some American, some Australian, some English, Ghanaian, and that it felt that the music shouldn't evoke a specific nationality that tied in with where it was. There's also the added benefit of it doesn't clash with English-speaking voices. It's sort of unforgettable, Eraserhead, when you just can't get those sounds out of your head. And really, the sound of this was built on a variety of kind of repeated and layered loops of things that just kept going round, which felt kind of appropriate for this, and were made with kind of old 60s guitar pedals, and like the computers are cat purrs. I really like this Fellini film that's in Spirits of the Dead, Toby Dallas, and I know there's something about those dubbed films because they're out of sync. There's a kind of freedom it feels to the images, and there's a directness to the sound. They have very few elements, and they're all meant to be doing something. They're very rarely just descriptive. Since Squid and the Whale, I just thought he was, I think that film's perfect, and he's so good in it. And then I think he's one of those actors who plays very different characters, but always feels like himself, if that's not doesn't sound contradictory, in the way that someone like Jack Lemmon had that, in that he's not someone who goes through these enormous physical transformations. And so, because these people had to look exactly the same, and that was part of the premise, it felt he'd be good. And it's difficult to really imagine someone of his age, 30, who has that kind of ability. Like when Arby and I were talking about it, we said historically it's kind of Dustin Hoffman or Jack Lemmon. It's one of those parts, someone who's able to be both downtrodden and confident. And it's a split screen, and one actor plays one part. So Jesse has an acting double, and so rehearsals are twice as long. You rehearse both characters, and then Jesse, say if he's playing Simon, will do the Simon part to the acting double who's playing James. You record that, and then you have to pick one of the takes on the day, and then he will listen back to the selected take in an earpiece and do the other side of the conversation. The job that's hardest is Jesse having to, do what's strange for an actor, which is to, in some way, not be in the moment, because it's more like recording a drum track and then having to do the next instrument. I mean, I've seen myself, so, you know, obviously I can't cast myself with the knowledge I now have. So, you know, I find it impossible to imagine not being able to think of someone better. I mean, in any role, even the role of me.